Passion und connection. It's all about passion and connection. Things coming together. And that hot and passionate situation there. Do me a favor, my friend. Please. Take any one you want. Okay, go ahead, Maya, grab it. Take it out. You can show it to me. You can show it to the camera. Everybody can see it. Here we go. 2 of diamonds. 2 diamonds. Would you take this microphone, please, and sign your name right across the face, please? Wonderful. Maya. Perfect. Now, you agree, when I spread out the cards, you could have had any card you want to, yes? I'm going to take your card. I'm going to do this slowly. Cut your card in to the very middle of the pack. In fact, I'm going to give the deck a couple of cuts. And then we're going to try something about connection. I said it was going to be about connection. Do you have a quarter? Perfect. Okay, now you chose a card, you signed a card, and you put your name on it. I want you to take this and put your name on the coin as best you can, or even just an M, on the marker. There's a connection between the two of them. They're both marked. So we've got the connection part down. What we need now is the passion, the fire. So watch. Now take your coin, I'm going to fold it up and put it inside this itty bitty piece of tissue paper. This little tissue paper, because your little baby has to have those little smoothies. There we go. Hold it in. I also have a lighter. Don't be frightened. Daddy's in control. Don't be frightened. Don't be frightened. I'm going to put this little piece of paper on top of the pack of cards. Do not take your eyes off the tissue wrap cord. You picked a card, you signed it, somewhere in the pack, you mark the coin, keep your eye on it, watch. Do not freak out. Look. It burnt. It burnt its way down through the entire deck of cards to find itself resting on top of only one card in the entire pack. And with any luck, the quarter, your marked quarter, found your marked card. I would say connection and passion. I am especially excited about getting a chance to talk about and sing the praises of and teach this effect on this DVD, particularly because it now includes, unlike when I first released In a Flash, it now includes what I call the brand new super realistic looking burnt cards, which in this case, if you look to the cards that you receive with this DVD, you'll see that whereas before the circle or the burn in the cards used to be perfectly circular, which again, this trick I've done, probably thousands of times for people. Every now and then, once in a blue moon, someone would comment upon the perfect circle. And I've certainly had magicians. A typical magician thing to be concerned about is, hey, that circle is a bit kind of perfect. Don't people comment? I think that, there's so much. The trick is so powerful, and there's so much going on. The last thing I think people think about is that. However, I did think there was it could only make the effect better, I figured, in the long run, to produce a realistic looking. And by realistic, I mean not perfectly circular. But in this case, you can see it's an imperfect sort of, it looks a lot more like a natural burn. So like I said, I'm especially excited to be introducing this to the Magic Fraternity with the brand new realistic burnt packs. So you got this with your cards. One little tip I'll tell you right now is to take a marker. Take a marker and take all of 4 minutes. And with the marker, blacken the edges of the cards. Okay? Blacken the edges of each of the 24, 26 cards, however many in your packet. Blacken those edges. You'll find it gives a little bit of a tinge, or I don't know what you call it, a little bit of a tinge of fuzziness around the edge because it's indelible ink. And of course, at the same time, not only does it come onto the surface of the card a little bit and the back of the card, but the edge itself is blackened, which means that in the end, when everything is apparently burnt down, the edges of the cards themselves are blackened too. I think this adds a great deal to the illusion of a freshly burnt pack of cards, okay? So you got your half pack of cards. I wouldn't worry too much personally if the other half of the cards have cards that match this first half or not. because you're going to use this first half, the burnt half, going to use it again and again and again, and you're going to replace other cards with it. I don't mind too much. However, just to be a stickler, you may want to make sure that whatever cards in this other half are all totally different from the cards in the burnt half. That way at the end it's a completely examinable deck, card by card, and they won't find a duplicate of their signed card. Having said that, the setup is going to be, oh, and one last point, is get a pencil, but in this case I'm going to use a marker so you can see. Let's have a close-up on this. On the corners of the card here, with a marker I've done it just so you can really see them. Put a pencil dot and a pencil dot. That's the last little prep you'll do. Pencil dot on one card. Drop that card directly on top of the punched cards. Okay? Add the rest of the pack on top. You need a lighter. You need a magic marker and a single sheet of flash paper, or as you should be calling it, tissue paper. And you're going to borrow the quarter, and that's everything you need to perform this honest to goodness, without a doubt, kick-ass reputation maker. I have done this and landed so many gigs because I know when I do this, everybody's going to shut up and people are going to get all scaredy pants. Okay, to perform the effect. You spread out the top half of the pack and you ask someone to select any card they want. One tip on that is, rather than spreading out the entire half, pretty much the entire half, and then giving them a chance to choose one, maybe they want to dig a bit, better to spread out 5 or 6 cards or 8 cards. And if they want to dig a bit, if you see they're starting to go for cards underneath, then spread out a few more. Okay? That's a much better way of handling the old guy who wants to dig around the pack. If they happen to select a card with a hole in it, that's a very different kind of effect. I'm warning you right now, okay? So they select a card. They select a card, they sign their name on it. Let's say the 4 of clubs. And they put their name on the 4 of clubs. While they're signing their name on the card, you emphasize, you spread out and say, remember, you could have taken any card, and you spot the card with the dots on it. That's, of course, the card just above the punched cards. And keep a little break. You're going to keep a pinky break between the one card and the rest of the pack, the one solid card. Okay? Take their card, put it on top, slowly cut it into the middle of the pack, then take at the back of the deck, get a little break with your thumb at the back of the pack, and you're going to double undercut. You're going to riffle off about 5 or 10 cards off the bottom, put those on top, then take everything above the break, and as you wrist kill, as you tilt the deck back a bit, you're going to put those on the bottom. Performance speed, it looks like this. Here, boom, boom, boom. Remember, you could take any card. Cut that to the bottom and then double cut. What this does is it makes sure there's no way you flash that. You don't want to flash this for people to be able to see it as you come up, and it positions the signed card as being the top card of the bottom half of the deck. It's right below the holes. Now this, again, I perform magic all the time in situations where there are no tables. So what's great about this is you can actually give this to people to hold on to, okay? You put it and say, hold it your hand like a little table, hold it your hand like a little table, and then you put this on, and again, I have never had anybody kind of go, hey, I think there's a punched mock burnt deck hole going through half the cards, I can feel it, okay? They feel nothing on their palm, all right, like that. So there, boom, hold on to those for a second. You borrow a quarter. You don't have to have someone initial the quarter. If they want to initial it, great. I think there's advantages. The more people initial stuff, the fairer things seem to be. So let's say they initial the stuff, boom, like that. Okay? Now, so someone's holding the deck. They've initialed the coin. You take the coin, and when you wrap the little piece of tissue paper, remember, it's not flash paper. The piece I use is bigger than the piece you get in those little pads of flash paper. I deliberately use, from a big sheet of paper, I'll cut, it's more like a 1/9 of a big sheet of paper, a little bigger. I want lots of flame. That to me, it really makes the effect. I'm just a pyromaniac, I admit it. I'm just a pyro, okay? So, you can fold this in your hands. If there's a table there, that's fine too. The point is to fold the flash paper around the coin in such a way that it's not just too tightly around the quarter. You don't want it too tight around the quarter, okay? You fold it up inside, like that, okay? Boom. The loose edges, okay, don't have the folded edges, okay, the folded edges should not be on top. They should end up on bottom of the coin. The folded edges, the lips should end up on the bottom of the coin. You retrieve the deck from the person. You take this and say, does anybody have a lighter? And as you say, does anybody have a lighter, you lay the folded packet directly over the hole. I want you to see this. So this is the real secret, the key to the mechanics, at least, of the effect. The quarter is in the tissue paper, and the tissue paper is resting directly on top of the hole. So the quarter is ready to fall down into the hole, and the tissue paper is completely covering the hole. I have tried to do this in someone's hands. That's a mistake. You freak them out. But doing it on a table, if there is one, is great. Doing it on your own hand is wonderful too, but make sure they lean right in wherever you've got it, okay? Now you spark it up, and what's going to happen? The disadvantage of doing it on the table is I'll show you. I spark it up, the flame jumps up, it burns, and the coin impossibly is found to have melted down through the pack of cards, okay? Freak out number one. That's a freak out, okay? People don't know what to do. I've seen screaming, I've seen shouting, I've more than once seen silence. People just go, they don't know what to say. So, number one, cut to the cards and let them see that hole. The pack is skewered on your finger. Number two is turn this over to verify that it is in fact the marked coin. You can put it in the, you can fold it up in a way so the marked coin is obviously ends up on top, but I kind of like the drama of this. Boom. Take this and get rid of the rest of the cards. So all focus is here. Have them name their card and show the signature. Now the one disadvantage of the table version is every now and then you'll do that, and the coin may fall and not fall totally to the bottom. It may end up sort of a little on its side like that. And that's not what you want. That's just not as visual. Where it's in your hand, if it does, as soon as you see the flash paper burn, if it's there, you can immediately shake the hand and say, look, as you bring it over. You can shake it, make sure it falls cleanly in. Either way, when you lift this off, boom, boom, and they can examine everything, and you've got the signed card. Good. Obviously, you can't do any more card tricks. The deck is destroyed, and that's a darn good thing. Here is an especially sweet little handling point. However, you do have to be able to do a decent turnover pass, okay? Let's look at the turnover pass for just a second while we're here. Turnover pass is as follows. You keep a break between two halves, okay? You spread out your cards, close the spread, and the left first finger curls beneath, and it's going to revolve the lower half. Going to turn the lower half, and as it does, the upper half of the pack is revolved as well, and the right first finger pushes everything together. Let's do that again. So you're here, you're there, and you're there. Okay? Performance speed, it's like this. You're here, and when you do the turnover pass, you tilt the hands down. Okay? So they're facing the audience. The deck is sort of not that way, but it's facing that way. You do your turnover pass, and it's one of those moves that there's not a lot to see. Okay? There's not a lot to see. If they're burning it, they might see a little something, but it should look like you're basically just turning over the deck. So how can the turnover pass be applied to the In a Flash deck? Turnover pass, In a Flash, Jack and Jill, up that hill. Thank you. I am Dr. Seuss, doing things. Have the punched hold, the punched half of the deck, have it not on top of the face-up deck as it usually starts, but have it on the bottom of the face-up deck. And get a pinky break between the full pack, or so the unpunched and the punched cards. You should find it pretty easy to get a pinky break just by pushing up with your darn finger through the hole. You'll find that it's a pretty easy, instant pinky break every time. Now what you can do, what that means is that you can spread through the cards pretty casually, showing them all solid, the first half, square up the cards, do a turnover pass, and spread through the cards as well, showing the backs of the same cards that you just showed the faces. So it's a lovely handling point that with just a quick turnover and a turnover, I'm now all set to go, having showed the fronts and backs of literally every card in the deck. Even though I think there's a lot to be said for doing in a flash with a signed card, the only other thing that might be able to compete with having a card selected and signed and then revealed is to find a card that is merely thought of. So you lose the part that's signed, but what you gain is it's not a selected card or chosen or removed from the pack. It's a card, apparently any card, a person was merely thinking of. Now to do that technique is really quite simple. Your setup's the same. You've got half the cards, the punched cards on the bottom, and the solid cards on top. And you're going to bring your hand up like this and give someone a chance to call stop at a card. Very traditional, and then you're going to keep a pinky break, okay? Very traditional technique. 2 pointers though. One is you'll find you have to grip the deck a little differently to make sure the hole is not shown on this card. Of course, if you want, you can have one card on the bottom of that to cover it, go from there, and that's even easier. However, then you're going to have to exchange your cards and all that. So I think the easiest thing to do is to cover the hole in the bottom of the card. You're also going to have to make sure that as you go through, they call stop among the cards in the top half of the deck. You don't want them to see a card in the bottom half. So which means you've got to start about in the middle and then go from there. Having established that, though, it's a very now straightforward matter to riffle the corner. They call stop. They see a card. You're covering the hole. Okay, boom. Keep a pinky break. Spread out the cards momentarily, as you say. So you could have called stop at any card, and I'm culling. All I'm going to do is cull the one card out of it. Keep spreading, okay? And then push this card to the bottom of the pack. But that's, of course, where the pencil dot card comes in, because you know that separates the two halves. So in that case, all you have to do is cover the bottom card. They call stop. You let them have a peek at it. Spread out the cards. You've kept your break. You cull their card to the bottom of the pack, okay? Now I spread through one more time and say, and you could have called stop at any card you're thinking of a card. Once I see this pencil dot card, I just have to keep a break directly below the pencil dot card and just cut the pack. But of course, I want to wrist kill as I go. So I'm going to come up like this, and as I wrist kill like that, I'm cutting their card, the selected card, to the bottom. The one point is I got to make sure that the spectator who's peeked at the card is not looking at the bottom. So if this spectator here was the one who peeked, I might turn slightly to my and then give a casual cut here. Risk killing so nobody sees the hole in the pack, and also no one's this person doesn't clue in to the face of that card. And I'm now in a position I can go right into the original handling at this point, but instead of finding a selected and signed card, I've been able to find literally what appears to be any card the spectator happened to have in mind. Here is one last especially hot idea, I think, within a flash. I've only done this 10, 15 times. I'm just so accustomed to the old way. But what's cool is you can combine it with a mentalist effect. So imagine going up to somebody and you start by saying, I'm going to whisper something in her ear, and it's important that you don't tell anybody else. I'm going to whisper a number and a letter in your ear. Okay? So you lean in, and let's say you whisper a 2. You say 2, and you say C. 2C. Okay? Then you have her take out a quarter, and without anybody peeking, have her write what you just whispered in her ear on her own coin. So she writes 2C on the quarter. Now, of course, you're set to go. Because within a flash deck, you made sure the 2 of clubs, say, is the top card. You force that card. There's a billion forces using the top card forces and stuff, the crisscross force and all this other stuff. Force the top card, 2 of clubs, and go from there into the effect. So at the very end of in a flash, what you get is that only she knows you actually predicted the card in the first place. So at the very end of in a flash, after the quarters melted down through the pack, your next step is to go boom, so it went down, and you say, go ahead, what was your card? And they say 2 of clubs. You turn over the quarter, there's the 2C, and to finish then, it's burned right through the pack. Another very simple idea is instead of borrowing a quarter, which is interesting but maybe not as emotionally engaging as a finger ring, use someone's finger ring, a wedding ring, okay? Same deal. Take the finger ring, wrap it up as before in the tissue paper, being sure to leave plenty of room again around the edges because you want to make sure you're able to cover your hole, right? Boom, like that. And again, make sure that the edges, the reason why you want to make sure the edges of the paper are on the bottom is with a quarter, you'll find if you happen to put this on top of the deck with the edges on top, they'll all burn and sometimes leave this perfect little circle tissue ring beneath the quarter. The best way to make sure that doesn't happen is to, like I said, is to make sure the little lip of the paper is on bottom. But now with the finger ring wrapped, you can put the finger ring here on top of the deck and you're in the same position. You can spark it and now the finger ring will go down, end up in the hole in much the same way as the quarter does. Boom. But as opposed to a borrowed quarter, you now have somebody still very warm finger ring having made the journey. Here's an especially kooky idea. It may seem a little nutty and even a little bold, but actually the end result is before you do the in a flash effect, you can actually do an extremely eerie and magical revelation.